a new rocket has been announced. It is for launching things into space. This new rocket can fly and land on Earth and be used again and again. Rocketlab created a new small satellite launcher that is more powerful than the ones they had before. It will launch satellites for future satellite constellations. The new rocket is made out of carbon composite that comes back down to Earth on a landing pad like what SpaceX does with its rockets. This is not a conventional rocket, Peter Beck, Rocketlab's CEO, said during the unveil, live-streamed on YouTube. This is what a rocket should look like in 2050. But we're building it today. As of now, Neutron is slated for its first flight in 2024. Rocketlab has been launching one rocket called Electron since 2017. It is meant to carry satellites into low Earth orbit. But in March, Rocketlab announced its intention to build another new rocket called Neutron and plans to go public on the stock market. This is a big change for the company because Beck once vowed he would eat his hat if he ever made a reusable rocket or a larger rocket. But during the March announcement, he ate an actual hat from a blender that was blended up. Neutron is a big rocket. It will be more than twice as tall as Electron, which is just 18 meters high. Neutron will have 7 new engines and can send up to 15 tons of stuff into orbit when it flies. Rocketlab is launching a new vehicle called Neutron. It will be perfect for launching medium-sized satellites that are part of proposed mega-constellations, massive satellite initiatives aimed at providing broadband coverage to the Earth below. But they also think it will be good for other things like human spaceflight or even interplanetary flight. We wanted to make sure that we didn't go to all this trouble to make a launch vehicle that wouldn't be able to be human certified and capable of human spaceflight, Beck tells The Verge. The Neutron design is notable because it will be reusable. Most parts of the rocket will return to Earth after launch. This design is different than other modern rockets. We usually launch rockets in stages. The stages are stacked on top of each other. When a rocket uses up its fuel, it falls back to Earth. When the fuel is gone, the stage becomes heavier. The rocket body falls away. The upper part of the rocket, the second stage, will turn on its engine and send the payload into space even more. Rocketlab's new rocket will be different. Rocketlab will put the second stage inside the first stage. The second stage, propelled by one Archimedes engine, will be attached to the payload and stay housed inside of the full body of the rocket during launch. Once in space, the top of the rocket will open up, releasing it. The two then continue their journey into orbit together. For most rockets, the satellite or payload is inside a nose cone. This protects the payload during the climb through Earth's atmosphere. Once in space, the fairing breaks up and falls back to Earth. But with Neutron, there will be a hinge that lets the payload out while still keeping the fairing attached to the rocket. The answer is not throwing away the fairings or even trying to catch them, Beck said during the video. The best way is never get rid of them in the first place. Rocketlab refers to the fairings as the hungry hippo fairing design. Once the second stage of Neutron is on its way, the main body of Neutron will come back to Earth. It will land upright on a landing pad. The entire process is meant to minimize operations costs. This is because building materials and components are not the most expensive part of spaceflight. Rocketlab does not plan to land Neutron on ships in the ocean, as SpaceX does. They have different designs than SpaceX. Plus, they try to catch their fairings with nets attached to boats, instead of trying for years and not succeeding as SpaceX did. Another way that SpaceX is different from other companies in the material it uses to make things. Beck talked about how other companies use stainless steel and how it bends when you hit it. But SpaceX will be using a special kind of carbon composite material made by another company called Rocketlab, which won't bend as stainless steel does. Ultimately, Beck says he wasn't singling out any company in particular. Certainly, there was no intention to make any references to SpaceX, he tells The Verge. It just so happens that, SpaceX uses stainless steel, But by the way, so does ULA. Rocketlab's newest rocket, Neutron, is not reusable. The second stage will not return to Earth when it puts the payload into orbit. Rocketlab didn't see any clear benefits in making the second stage reusable for a low cost. Rocketlab says it is already working on prototypes of this new type of vehicle. The test will happen next year. It may not be on the market now, but Rocketlab is making the prototype.